Hi, it's Jediah. Um, again, also known as Shirley Jean Wade. Um, and my stage name, Jade. Also because I sing, and sometimes I use Jediah too as a stage name as well. Um, and Jediah actually means God knows. And my son Titus Jaden Wade, his name actually means Titus actually means giant, and his Jaden actually means God has heard. And we're basically Christians. I'm saved at an early age, at the age of 7, really at the age of 3, because my grandmother used to tell me that I used to walk around singing, a lot of old hymns at the age of 3. But anyway, Dr. Jamal Bryant had given me a prophecy at Changing the Generations Church. And he pulled me out of the congregation, in front of the congregation, me and my son Titus, when he was 6 years old, and he said that there are several people want to take your son from you. He said, you're a good mother. He said, this has, you're very, very heartbroken over this, and it's really taking you through something. And he said, but don't worry, the system will not be able to keep your son. And and I said, oh my goodness, this man doesn't know me from Adam, but that is so true. Alliance War and For Tigers Only are organizations for black judges that are against the injustice that I've been through. On Everything I Love is also an organization for black judges for the injustice that I've been through. I really didn't want my son to be taken in the system, especially in Atlanta. So the Lord told me to go to Dallas at the Potter's House. I went to move to Dallas, and we got connected with the Potter's House, and we did a play called This Christmas, where Sarita Jakes was the narrator in a play. And my son, when TD Jakes came backstage, and my son was just yelling, TD Jakes, TD Jakes. And somebody said, well, don't touch him, baby, don't touch him. And TD Jakes said, oh, I like him. And he just shook his hand, and he said, that's okay, he can touch me. He shook his hand. And, to make a long story short, after the play, we were supposed to be honored and stuff for the play. I was told, but I was first in a domestic violence shelter with my son, and then we went into an interfaith housing program. And I took my son to the hospital, and he was taken from me at the hospital unlawfully. Now, I don't drink, I don't smoke. My son has never been abused in my care. And so, I just could not believe the injustice that had went on, and it happened Christmas weekend, the day after Christmas. I had basically, had an aunt, Shirley Gordon, who wanted to take my child in the system because her son was killed due to gang violence and drug violence. And I fled from St. Louis and moved to Atlanta because she just kept trying to, trying to get my son taken from me. And I actually worked at Pregnancy Resource Center and at shelters for pregnant women and children. And I told them, I said, well, basically, I work for state and I counsel abused children. And and he said, well, this is very prevalent that people do call on people that work for state, and he said, so we're going to block that for you. And but I always wanted to get out of St. Louis anyway too, so I left and moved to Atlanta and then Dallas. Well, shortly after we did the play and everything, and my son was taken in the system in the hospital, they basically told me, they was like, well, you're not you have 5 minutes to get a babysitter for your son, or we're going to take him in the system. And it was just like that, and I said, well, I don't need a babysitter, this is, my child. He's never been abused. He didn't have any scars on him or anything, not even emotionally. And he knew he was in a loving home. And so to make a long story short, they took my child from me. And then from that point on, the police started harassing me everywhere I went. And then the next thing I know, after the Mega Fest, I went up to the church one Wednesday at the Potter's House, and there was a policeman, not even a policeman, a security guard came up to me telling me, if you don't get off this church, get out of this church, we're going to arrest you for trespassing. And I said, what? This is my church. What are you talking about? And right before I left Changing a Generation, I also got a prophecy from Bishop Palmer's daughter, and she was just telling me, how God was going to use me with the youth and teenagers and things like that, which God had been doing. She didn't know me from Adam, but God had been doing that pretty much all my life, working with the youth and things like that. Even in St. Louis, my pastor told me before I went to Oral Roberts University that I was the backbone of the youth ministry at Metro Christian Worship Center in St. Louis, Missouri. And so I brought a lot of people in my high school in the Lord as a Christian. But to make a long story short, they took me and they put me in they cuffed me right there at the Potter's House, and then they took me and they took me to a mental hospital, and I mean, just like I'm talking to you right now, coherent right now. I was just as coherent then, and didn't need to go into a mental hospital. And any Stevie Wonder could see, that there was nothing wrong with me. So it was just crazy. So they put me into a mental hospital. And what's so sad about this is as a teenager, I was diagnosed with manic depression because my father molested me and my mother didn't stick by me, and my mother was very verbally abusive. My sister harmed me. Wage was also, like I said, it was like a jabbing all the time. You lied on your father, you lied on my daddy, and they both caught him in an act, when it happened and things like that. But this is the reason why I became a counselor for abused children and worked in shelters and for pregnancy resource centers and shelters for pregnant women and children. And this is the reason why. But they wasn't proud of me for that, They wasn't, and there was just a lot of jealousy. But to make a long story short, after I got out of the mental hospital, they put me. I was arrested at Applebee's because somebody paid for a meal. Told me that they were going to, pay for a meal at Applebee's, and they didn't pay for it, and make it so bad I didn't even want to eat there. I was refusing to eat there at the time, but they, insist on paying, and then they ended up not paying, and they arrested me instead of them. And Megan Thomas was the person that took me through that, the dirty caseworker from Dallas, Texas. So they put a dirty casework on me from Dallas, Texas, and she was telling me it's a chance that your child's father could get Titus and things like that. And the family knew I had a restraining order from him because he put his hands on me, and I was just not going to take any kind of abuse from him. So I went and called the police and got a restraining order, because he was also acting like he was going to hurt me and the baby. I left and went to Atlanta, back to Atlanta to get some legal help to get my child out of the system. And I was arrested at a Walmart for no reason at all. They watched me make my purchase and everything. They took me back where the cameras were and tried to accuse me of stealing, and on the camera he even showed me myself paying for my purchase and everything. And I said, see, there I am paying for the purchase on the cameras. We looking both, and he arrested me anyway. And I've never stole anything in my life. And who is going to steal anything from Walmart or anywhere? That's just crazy. So they put me in corrections for 3 weeks, and then so I went back home to St. Louis. But there's a temple, was a church that I was at, where I had asked to be, a part of the youth there, and they, because I'm a youth pastor, and I got went up there one day to work on some things for the youth, and I was surrounded for about maybe eight police officers, and they told me I was trespassing. Each time I was arrested, they told me that I was trespassing. They don't have probable cause, and they never read me my rights. Each time I was arrested over 10 times where I was told that I was trespassing, where each time they never read me my rights. So at Bethesda Temple, they put me in jail after, not Bethesda Temple, but the police officers put me in jail for trespassing. Then I was a former student at Florissant Valley Community College, also a former student of Oral Roberts University, also a former student of Miami-Dade College. And I went to Florissant Valley, and I was telling the administrators there, I said, I keep these policemen keep arresting me for no reason at all. And there was a big black policeman that was just standing there. Next thing I know, he was just standing there on the podium or whatever. And then 2 white police officers came up there and just arrested me for no reason at all. They put me in Christian hospital, psych ward, and just like I'm saying, I'm coherent as I am right now, and it just made no sense. A Christian hospital also, because of this, I had family violence where Shirley jumped on me because she knew that I was trying to do all I can to get back to my son and get help to get to my son. Well, her and my Aunt Diane jumped on me for no reason at all. They used, basically in my adolescence, I used to have, like I said, depression and things like that. But they used that against me, and my grandmother was also verbally abusive. They used past nervous breakdowns that I used to have when I was a teenager and things like that, and they called after they jumped on me, they called the police on me and told them that I had a mental illness. And so she was, and even when, crying uncontrollably and just, being, sad, very sad, and it was a very deep depression that I was in back then. But I had years of counseling and people that poured their lives into me at my church and things like that. Church family where God began to heal me, and I began to forgive and confront them that are. I confronted my father that abused me. I confronted my mother and told them that I forgave them and things like that, and began to receive healing over the years and things like that. And I began to counsel women and things like that, and children that have been through the same thing. But to make a long story short, they just kept arresting me, and I ended up being homeless because, I wasn't planning on living in St. Louis. I was going to get back to my son, trying to get back to my son, but I was staying at the house with my aunts at the time, and so I ended up homeless because of family violence, and I was sitting in the hospital at Christian Hospital because, just to be somewhere safe because it is St. Louis, so Christian Hospital. One time I was there, and about 5 or 6 police officers surrounded me and told me to get up, and they grabbed me and they threw me into this room where the police officer stuck his finger in my neck, and then the nurse came and gave me a shot. And when I woke up, there was an operation that they had done on my neck where they said that I had almost died, and they had to resuscitate me and everything. They lied and said that I came into the hospital for an abscess on my throat, which I never did. And I was so upset because I sing like hit notes like my Mariah Carey and Minnie Riperton and Karen Clark Shear, Mary, and things like that. And it was just pathetic, that they took me through that, and I'm a gospel artist. So Barnes Hospital had took me through a horrific thing where they had took me, they put me on a hospital bed for with handcuffs on it, and they handcuffed my arms and my legs and things like that, and about 10 officers took turns sticking their thumb in my throat, and I was it was just really sad, and prior to this I was on the phone working on a caseload for some children that I was trying to get out of the system, that was in the system unlawfully, that I had knew, and I also have reported Megan Thomas, and as soon as I said Megan Thomas, it really wasn't until I said Megan Thomas on that phone that the police officer came and snatched the phone out of the wall, and then that's when they took me in the back and of the ER, and they put me in this cell-like room at first, where this police officer was just choking me. He was just choking me, and then they put me in the hospital bed with the handcuffs on it. They handcuffed my arms and legs, and then they had arrested me a couple of times at Barnes Hospital, but just sitting in the hospital in the waiting room, and they told me that I was trespassing. And my child's father, Larry Lunsford, he was in the hospital for heart trouble or something, and I went in the hospital, and I sat in the hospital just to confront him about him trying to molest my son, and he started yelling. He didn't deny it. What he told me was, well, I don't want to see him no more, and I said, so then he started yelling and screaming, get out of here, get out of here. So I got out and I went in the waiting room and just sat in a chair because and then about 5 officers came and told me to get up because you're trespassing. And I said, oh my God. He said, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm confronting my child's father because he touched my son inappropriately. And I said, and you're trying to arrest me for trespassing and put me in handcuffs and whatever. And I said, first of all, he shouldn't die here. He need to be put under the jail cell. He needs to die in the jail. So the heart problems or whatever, he should be treated in the jail, whatever, for that because of what he did to my son. And so they just told me, you're coming with us. And these are black police officers, all black police officers. And they took me down to in this room in the ER where I had on some brand new jeans and I had on a blazer, a beige blazer and a turquoise shirt, and they put me in handcuffs again, handcuffed to the beds, my arms and legs, and a black nurse came in there and she just began cutting my jeans off of me, just cutting my jeans completely up. And the policemen were standing there in front of me, these white policemen were standing in front of me, and I kept saying, I can't believe you're doing this. I said, you're going to have to pay for these clothes because these are brand new clothes. And the police officer and I said, why are you getting me undressed in front of them? First of all, I can undress myself. And I said, why are you doing this in front of these police officers? And I felt so degraded and humiliated. And, I did not feel safe with them standing over me while she was cutting my clothes off of me. And she cut my blazer up and everything, my shirt, everything up. And then they put me in the psych ward. Mind you, I'm not clowning or anything. Just the way you see me talking now, that's how I was then, and it was just uncaused for. And so they put me in a psych ward, and I was there, just like I am sitting there for 4 months. And they put me on medication where my doctors had taken me off of medication years ago, and things like that. And it was just so ugly. And then then another time I went to apply for a flight attendant job because I just seen so many ugly things, being in jail for no reason at all, having going through, and I wanted the best for me and my child, and I wanted to give him the world. And they came up to the job interview, and a white lady came in the bathroom and just told me, get out of this bathroom or I'm going to call the police on you for trespassing. An old white lady. And I said, excuse me, who are you? And then I left out of the bathroom. She was just threatening to call the police on me. The police came and they took me out. They threw me to the ground. I had on a bad pantsuit, really nice pantsuit. Hair was whipped, looking nice, and they just disregarded all of that and took me to jail and for trespassing. And then after that, I was arrested in a laundromat in Florissant on a Sunday. I was supposed to sing in church that morning, and the police officer came up there while I was doing my laundry before I go to church, and tore the arm off my leather jacket and put me in jail. And then I was arrested on the bus in Miami and South Beach. They got on the bus and told me that I was trespassing by riding the bus. Someone had stole my shoes off the beach, and had a friend told me to meet them in the mall, and they was going to get me some more shoes, and standing around waiting on them. And then a policeman told me to get out the mall or I would be trespassing. So I had to leave the mall barefooted, and it was at night when the mall was, oh my God, it was so horrible. And so I got on the bus, and the police got on the bus and told me that I was trespassing, and they took me they tased the police officer, lady officer slapped me, and the male police officer tased me, and I said, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and he said, "Well, we'll see about that," and he tased me again, and then they took me to the hospital, handcuffed me to the bed again, gave me, really ill treatment and everything there. Mind you, when I was at Barnes Hospital and they did this to me, when the 10 officers were sticking their hands in my, their thumbs in my throat, they was just telling me to shut the F-U-C-K up, and I guess that was Megan Thomas' message for me, because like I said, they snatched the phone out when it wasn't until I mentioned her name to state. And so Beach, South Miami Beach, on Memorial Day 2017, I was at Fat Tuesdays, sitting in front of Fat Tuesdays, actually, not in the building, but I was sitting in front of Fat Tuesdays, where I had sung there often, and I had drunk. I was sitting there drinking a soda. I had drunk a Dr. Pepper, and I had my cases of Dr. Peppers with me and things like that, and they came over there and told me that I was trespassing. And, I was just so upset because I knew that it was them again. I just moved to Miami because I wanted to see something beautiful because of the horrible situation. I wanted the best for my son, but Megan Thomas didn't want that for us. And so that's why she had it happen. So she didn't want that for my son and I. So I had just graduated from Miami-Dade College as a licensed chef. I studied psychology at Oral Roberts University and Florissant Valley Community College, but I had just graduated as a chef, and I could not believe that I was being arrested, it wasn't until I said, "What is this? A child molester organization or something?" And people were laughing in the crowd because I was actually harassed before I even got to Fat Tuesdays, where I was in a restaurant, and the guy told me to leave or I would be arrested for trespassing. So when I left and walked to Fat Tuesdays, there they were. And it was basically an inside joke of one of the plays that I had done. What is this, a child molester organization or something? Because Megan Thomas knew that I had prevented my child from. I was preventing my child from going through abuse with his dad, and she told me, well, we're going to try to give him over to his father, and we told him that, and Titus did a loud outburst and just started screaming and crying. And I said, well, he does not even know his dad, because I left him when he was a baby. And I said, and he knows he knows that I have a restraining order and everything, and I said he tried to he touched my son inappropriately. He was trying to molest my son, and she said, well, he's still his father, and we're going to try to do what we can to make sure that we can get him to him and things like that. So I ended up in a custody battle, won the custody battle, as far as winning the father out of his care, but they were, Megan Thomas was lying to the courtroom, saying I didn't know any positive people and things like that. When I was, I went to the Potter's house, okay, a Christian, went to a Christian college or Rogers University. She didn't know me for Adam, just making up things. And my Miami-Dade, they were telling me that in order for me to get my son out the system, I needed to get a babysitter, just ridiculous things like that. But Miami-Dade College, I was harassed after I graduated from there. I went back to the school to pick up some more courses there, because I am the law, basically a counselor for abused children, and I wanted to go for law this time, and finish my law degree, so I went back up to campus, and a black lady officer just came out and told me, get off this campus or you're going to be arrested for trespassing. And so I never went back to Miami-Dade campus. And there at Oral Roberts University, where I attended campus, so many people looked up to me there. I went back to Oral Roberts University, and I'm on the campus there, and the police just came up to me and told me that I was trespassing, and it was around Christmas. They took my kids' toys that I had bought him for Christmas. I had, studio microphones for me and my son for Christmas, and they took that and did not return it to me, and then went back to St. Louis, Missouri, and I was in Metro PCS, and that's when they arrested me and told me that they put me in corrections in St. Louis, Missouri for about 5 months, and then told me that I had to come back here to Florida to finish out programs. And these programs, I'm told, have failed 90% of our people. And they basically took me through so much, but I had complied with the programs like they told me to, because I wanted to get out of this. They told me that if I go through these programs, they would drop the charges. And they have been telling me this the whole 5 years that they were dropping charges. They told me that I could get 5 years in prison if I did not go through these programs and didn't go in there, live in their group homes and things like that, which is really disgusting, for them to do to me, because like I said, I have clients and people that need me and things like that, and I'm being and also my child needs me, and I need to take care of my child as well, and don't need to be in no assisted living facility or an independent living facility, which is the housing programs that they have forced me to go into. But before that, they have forced me to go into, after being in jail here in Miami, Florida, they had forced me to go into Agape. Now, Agape is a rehab, for women that have been on drugs. Now, I have never been on drugs a day in my life, nor was I acting like I was on drugs at all, so it was just pathetic, They made me stay in there for 8 months, so I'm spending Christmas, after they took my son through the system Christmas weekend, I'm spending Christmas away from my son in Agape. And in Agape, they told me that I could not go out, that I was required to, where other people there, they were actually allowed to go out of the building and get jobs and get apartments and things like that, or go wherever they needed to go, and then come back in a program and stay. They told me that I had to be there, basically, and I could not leave the facility at no time the whole 8 months. And then they